Hey there, welcome to another episode of Cooking with Violet Vixen. We are feeding our sweet tooth with a favourite of mine, which I very rarely make, and this is a Italian recipe, and it is a bit different to when I normally make it, but obviously it being Italian, this is the proper way to make it. We're making tiramisu. Here's what we need. Apparently this will serve 8. That's if you're nice enough to share it. So here's what we need. And we're doing this in a couple of steps because we're basically making a cake. Then we've got to cut it into 3. Then we're making a filling and we've got to refrigerate it for 3 hours. So then it will be ready to serve. But anyway, so apart from this, which I'm going to talk you through in a minute, we will also need a round cake tin, which you should sit on a tray in case it leaks. It may not, but I don't want to clean your oven. Grease that with the butter and line it with baking paper. So try and have it as neat as you can, and then that way you won't get those little crinkly lines in the side of your cake like anyone's going to notice, right? We're not being judged on this one, hopefully. Oven on to 180, and then you will also need a mixer. And I think that's really all we need. Probably a handy pink spatula because we don't really go without handy pink spatula anyway. But come on in, I'm going to talk you through all the ingredients. I got handy pink spatula because we will need it. All right, so first up, you need butter for greasing. So that is so that you can grease that and then line it with your baking paper. We'll set that aside. You'll also need 3 eggs. 140 grams of golden caster sugar. Now, golden caster sugar is not normally a thing in Australia, but in my little brains, I decided to Google it and couldn't really work it out. But I'm a big fan of raw sugar, and raw sugar is normally a golden colour. So I put 2 and 2 together, and I ended up finding in Woolworths raw caster sugar, which is a golden colour. So I now have another new ingredient in my pantry. So I'll probably just use that when I need to buy more raw sugar, because I nearly ran out of raw sugar a while ago. So if you ever get any fancy jars, keep them, because you're better off putting things into jars than leaving them in packets if you know you're not going to use them for a very long time. So that should be right in that jar. You'll also need 90 grams of self-raising flour. Oh, we will need a sieve as well. We are going to sift that at a later date. 1 tablespoon of cocoa, which we're also going to sift. 150 mils of cold black coffee. Just make that up your normal way. If you have a coffee percolator or whatever, use that. Otherwise, that's just my instant coffee. 2 tablespoons of rum. Now, Italian recipes use dark rum, which I don't have, but I always use Kahlua. And when I Googled it just to make sure that I wasn't going to have to go out and spend $30 odd on alcohol that I'm not going to drink, $30 and the rest, I know. I found out, yes, I can use Kahlua, so I always keep Kahlua. Just trying not to drink it, that's all, but that's the best and closest one, because that is a coffee liqueur. Yum. We will also need 2 teaspoons of cocoa to decorate, so I've measured them out in 2 different sizes. For our filling, it's 375 grams of mascarpone cheese. Unfortunately, they don't sell it in a 500 grams, so I had to buy 2 of those. But that's okay, we've made it with that. 225 mils of fresh custard. You can either make it or just, as I did, I just brought that. Now that's just under a cup. Another 55 grams of that golden caster sugar. And finally, 100 grams of plain chocolate which you need to grate. So I just got the one from Aldi. This one's pretty good, and it's half a block. So I sat there grating it, and it grates easy until you get the top parts off. So there is a few chunks in there, but that doesn't matter. That'll just give it a bit of a bite. Okay, so now you know what we need. We are doing this in a couple of steps, as I mentioned in the beginning. So first of all, we are going to need our mixer. And to make the cake, we are adding eggs and sugar into here and beating until thick and light. So, eggs and sugar. So that was our first lot of raw caster sugar, or golden caster sugar, I should say, which is 140 grams. In goes that. And 3 eggs. Now, I like to crack them one at a time. I don't even know if this is going to reach the bottom. Probably not. I crack them one at a time into a cup in case I get any nasties. Wouldn't want to be any nasties. They're still pretty expensive. So 1, 2, and I need 1 more. Not buying a chicken yet though, thank you. They make too much noise. And 1 more. Three. Alrighty. That is our third one. In goes that. I have washing up to do at a later stage. Alright, let's put that on and see. Okay, it only just reaches. Alright, I will see you when that is ready to go. Now, because my mixer is a little bit of a weird thing, I am going to actually lift it off and use it this way until I've got a bit more stuff in it. That was the only downside to this mixer. A, it's got a great size bowl. B, it doesn't touch the bottom. So I have to do it this way. Otherwise, I'm going to be here all day. But it's getting there though. Now at this stage, while we're still going with this, we can start and sift the flour. This is why it would be better if I could use the stand for this, but we're not going to get anywhere. So we're going to sift the flour. And then that cocoa, which was the 1 tablespoon. There we go. We're getting that lighter colour now. So it looks like, it'll look like coffee once you put milk in it. That's my best way to describe it. But not like my coffee, because my coffee is really strong today. There we go. It's a bit hard to see it in this light. But that is what we are looking for. Okay. So I'm happy with that, I think. Yeah, I'm happy enough with that. That's to the liking that we need. So we'll set the mixer aside. I don't think we need it again, but it can just sit over there for the moment. Okay. So sift these 2 things together. Sift the flour and cocoa over the batter and fold in gently. Okay, so we've got those last little bits there that don't like to go through, but I get them through eventually. So just use the back of handy pink spatula or whatever you use, or spoon, and just rake it through. You will get there eventually. Okay. Here we go. All right. You don't need to double sift it, so just straight in. Probably could have saved myself a bowl by doing it the other way. Never mind, I'm the one washing up. All right, so gently fold that through. So that will thicken the batter up beautifully. Oh, yum. It looks good and it's not even cooked. Now don't overmix it because it's a very thin batter. So what we need to do now is bring over our tray or baking dish. What do you call it? Our cake pan. Which we've already greased and lined. Oh, I nearly dropped that. We don't want to do that. Spoon the batter into the tin and bake in a preheated oven, 180 degrees, for 30 minutes or until the cake springs back when pressed gently in the center. Let stand in the tin for 5 minutes, then turn out onto a wire rack to cool. All right, I will do that now. So in we go. Beautiful. Just make sure that you've got no flour pockets. Oh, it's getting windy. I thought it was raining. I have washing outside, which I've got to go and get in very soon. As soon as we hear a little alarm. Okay, so at this stage, once we've got this in the oven, I would suggest if it's a hot day to put the mascarpone and the custard into the fridge. Because it's a freezing cold day here, I think I'll still put it in anyway. I would leave it out, but I'm going to put it in. All right, 30 minutes in the oven, and I'll see you then. So I got it out after half an hour. Now my oven is temperamental and it's proved it because we got a little bit of black on the top, but it's no big deal. No one's going to notice it. So once you get it out of the oven, you need to cool it for 5 minutes in the tin. And then we're going to turn out onto a wire rack and let it cool completely, because when we go to cut it, and as I mentioned at the beginning, we are cutting it into 3, so we're dividing it. We do not want to be cutting a hot cake because it will just go to crumble, literally to crumble. Now, the good thing with this baking tin, I'm going to put the gloves on. The good thing with this one is that the base actually does lift out, so you can do it this way. With your one, if you don't have the base that lifts out or pushes down, I should say, the good thing is that we did line it well enough for you to be able to lift it out. So put that away. We're just going to carefully lift that off and peel back our paper carefully. You can keep the side paper on just to give you something to lift it. Well, it's looking for something that burnt on the top. It's behaving very well. So I'm just going to keep going with the taking the paper off part. Okay, you can't see much here. I apologise. All right, that's better. I was a bit too low down over there. So all the paper's off. We just want it to cool. Don't be tempted to put it in the fridge. Otherwise it may start to crack. So let it cool at room temperature. Now, fortunately, it's a hot day. I wish it was a hot day. It's a cold day, so it may cool quicker than I want it to. So let's say I'll check in with you in about half an hour and hopefully we'll be ready to keep rolling with the cake. Okay, so I've just touched the cake and it's cold. So we're going to set it aside while we get the filling ready. So for you that have put the other stuff in the fridge, let's grab that out now. That was the mascarpone and the custard. Like I say, it's not super hot, but I still put it in the fridge. Okay, so first step, we're going to get the black coffee and the rum and mix them together and set aside. So that is 150 mils of cold black coffee and 2 tablespoons of rum or Kahlua, which we're going with Kahlua. In they go, in with the coffee. Yum. 1, 2. Perfect. All right, mix that in and set that aside. So if you've ever made tiramisu before, the version I normally make is where you use a sponge finger biscuit and you basically soak the sponge fingers in what we're making now. But this one, because it's more of a cake, well, it is a cake, we're doing it slightly different, but we're doing it the Italian way. So grab probably handy pink spatula again. We need our mixer back, so fortunately I didn't move it too far away. So let's grab our pink spatula and this. To make the filling, place the mascarpone cheese in a large bowl and beat until soft. Okay, well that would be this one. Okay, so put the mixer on. Now mascarpone is very similar to when you use the cream cheese that you use for cheesecake. Okay, so we want to keep beating that until it is soft, and then we're going to stir in the custard, gradually add the sugar, and then stir in the chocolate. Okay, when it looks something like that, you'll know it's soft. Then you can add your custard. So once again, I had to take it off the stand because it doesn't reach the bottom. But once I get the custard in, we should be fine. So let's get the custard in next. And we'll start beating it again. I might just let that drain for a little bit. Once that's all mixed in, then we are going to gradually add the sugar, beating constantly, and then stir in our grated chocolate. So now that it's nice and smooth, I'm going to gradually start and add the sugar in, keep it beating as it goes. And then our last ingredient is going to be the grated chocolate. Alright, let's grab that now. Yum, chocolate. Safe to stir it in, but you know what? The mixer's going to mix it better than I can stir it in. Alright, once it's all mixed in, we can set this aside and get ready to cut the cake up. That was fun trying to find a serving plate, and I found this one, which I haven't seen this one for years. This one's a cute one. Perfect. It looks very, very tiramisu serving style. Okay, so what we need to do now is with a knife, we are going to cut this into 3. I've left a bit of paper on there. Go just a little bit. We're going to cut it into 3 so that we've got 3 layers. Okay. So we want probably one about there. This is why you need this really cold. Okay. All right, I'm confident enough here. Okay, so once you've got it started, you should be fine to just keep going. Sort of move it around as you go. Bring it down. Okay. Maybe at this time you might want to move your wire rack out of the way because I think it's just annoying me. So this is a good time to get a really big knife that you can actually make sure that you're not overlapping yourself, because okay, there we go. Right, first layer's done. Oh, check that out. All right, bottom layer goes on our beautiful serving plate. Oh, perfect size. I knew that, obviously. Now we've got to do this again. And this is where this gets a bit tricky because we're a bit higher up, but we're not too bad though. Okay. Have a steady hand doing this. But you know what? If it's a bit rough looking, who cares? This one I've got to go a bit more careful with because it's closer to the top. I think it must have sagged down a little bit there. But it's okay though. Don't worry. Don't let it stress you, okay? Oh, look, we made it. All right, let's see what we look like here. Now, this is the scarier one. Oh, I just haven't gone right in here. There we go. Okay, set that aside. It looks like a donut, unfortunately, that piece. All right, and then the last piece. Okay, it's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. All right. How'd you go with yours? Good, I hope. Okay, so here, this is probably going to be the best way to do this. Get 2 of the 2 chopping boards or 2 separate plates. I would go with the silicone chopping boards that you've probably seen me use. And the only reason why I say this is because it's easier for you to move it around with that on underneath it. Okay. Don't worry about that little hole there. No one will see it because it's right in the middle. Okay. Cut the cake. Place 1 layer. Sprinkle with 1/3 of the coffee mixture. Okay. So the best way to do this is probably going to be to get a really large spoon. And go like this because it's just going to absorb it in anyway. And how do I know what 1/3 is? Well, that is probably easier to do it by 1/4 of a cup. You know what? That looks like it. Then we want this. Cover with 1/3 of the mascarpone, which is probably about that. Oh, yum. Look at that one. One more spoon. Tell you what, if you don't think that you can cook a cake, this looks pretty fancy. Here we go. Right to the edge, so it looks really good. Okay. Next up, we are going to put the middle one on the top. Fantastic. Do the same again with the tiramisu, with the coffee mixture. They call it a coffee mixture. It's the alcohol. A little bit more, probably one more spoon. Try and mix it up a bit. Let's go one more bit because I feel like we need a bit around there. Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's go with another 1/3 of this. Beautiful. This looks perfect. This is probably one of the most perfect cakes I've ever made. And I've made a lot of cake, just so you know. Go to the edge. Squeeze on a bit more. All right, let's put our lid on. Oops, just got my arm in it. Yum. That tastes good. It's all right. I spilt half the washing up water over my jacket today too, so going good. Look at that. All right, we're going to top with the rest of this. It might be a bit harder for this part to soak in because the top is probably a little bit more, well, this burnt a little bit, but you're not going to tell once I get my stuff onto it. Oh, look at that. It's so good. All right. Let's put the last bit on the top. Yep. Oh, delicious. All right. Okay, so once you've done that, this goes in the fridge 3 hours before you can eat this. How cruel. And then before you serve it, you're going to sprinkle it, sift the last of the cocoa over the top. It should serve 8 apparently. Depends on how you feel. Really hope you enjoy this one. Thank you for watching this episode, Cooking with Violet Vixen. This has been Tiramisu. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.